When this story took place, I was about 13 years old. Our family was dealing with the passing of our dad. It came out of nowhere and it was very sudden. We were all deeply saddened and had our own ways of coping with his death. During that time, I only wanted to listen to music, as it always calmed me down when I felt overwhelmed. I had been listening to a well-known Christian band, and I enjoyed their music. One day, I was getting ready to go somewhere and decided to listen to the music they played. The song that came on next was one I listened to regularly, so I started singing along. However, when the song finished, I looked down so I could change it. That is when I noticed the song had still 9 minutes left on it. I was a bit confused, as I never saw this before. This is when the lyrics started playing over and over again in a soft tone. He's all right. I felt my heart skip a beat. I immediately took it as a sign that God was telling me that my dad was all right. As I continued to listen to it, I began to tear up. I started praying and thanking God. I often think about that day, especially on days when I really miss my dad. God truly cares. Several years ago, I was hired to help out at an elderly assisted living home. I would stay up from 8 p.m. to 6:30 a.m. I was to make sure that none of the elderly residents tried to walk outside in the evening or early morning hours, which some had tried to do before I was there. Anyway, there were a few things that usually happened during those nights. After doing the tasks I was asked to complete, it would be very quiet and a little eerie, as it was often dark in both the facility and outside. I usually had to turn the lights down low or completely off to not disturb anyone, but the facility had a 4-camera security system which showed various areas in and around the home. Because it was dark, I would often pray soon after my shift started that everything would go well and that no one would wake up to move around in the middle of the night. Most nights went pretty well. However, there were some nights in which strange bugs, or what I thought were bugs, would cross the security camera screens. There were also noises that somehow shouldn't have happened, in which would wake up the residents. Some of the residents would even act very odd several times. And additionally, there was also a graveyard on the property that was over 100 years old. Needless to say, I didn't stay there too long, but left when God provided a new job. But I am so grateful that God watched over me during my time there. One evening around October, I decided to stay in the living room and have a nice, relaxing movie night. I decided to watch both funny and also scary movies, as I had some good snacks nearby as well. Anyway, at some point I fell asleep, possibly during a scary movie. Around 3:30 a.m., I slowly woke up to some creepy dialogue. As I opened my eyes, I could see that there were people dressed in Halloween costumes, acting as though they were overrunning a particular theme park as it was around Halloween in a commercial. However, there was something very odd about this commercial. First, I had never seen this before, even though I had watched several movies and even television shows just several hours before. Secondly, these costumes looked frighteningly realistic, something you wouldn't expect for such a family-friendly park. I quickly turned off the television and tried to get back to sleep. Yet, I felt like something was not right. It was sort of like something was in the room. So I began to pray. I prayed that God would let whatever it was go away, and for me to go back to sleep easily. I went to sleep around 10 minutes later and didn't wake up again until the morning. God watched over me that night, and I have not seen that commercial since.